welcome to the Integrate This podcast. I'm Jeremy, and that's David, and we're joining you here today from a different view. As you can see, I've kind of got a more of a spacey background, a sky, and some cool land formation things. And David looks like he's just chilling in a nice minimalist style suite, maybe
Contemporary.
a temporary place that he's located. No, really, we're here in a different format today because we're exploring a new AI product that works with virtual meetings as a digital note taker and action planner for keeping track of everything that you talk about. And so we're going to use Microsoft Teams here for this particular edition and episode. And David is going to help explain to us a lot about the benefits of using a digital note taker such as Otter AI, which you can see down there is that third guest that we have with us today as well. So David, why don't you give us a little bit of an idea of what Otter AI is?
Yeah, so what we've come across lately is we have some AI note takers, and actually within our region, we've had some superintendents that have already implemented using Otter AI into the different meetings that they have, which is funny enough because we have our superintendent meeting is actually going on right now as well. And like I said, there's some that use Otter AI for it to take notes and then upload that into the Otter.ai web browser program, and you'll have like a login and things like that. And I'm going to share a lot of that today. I'm going to kind of go over some of the things that you can find in there, and then what you see going on right now is we wanted to just add in the AI note taker. So there's a way that you go about getting the note taker into whatever meeting you have, and it's pretty versatile. So you have Microsoft Teams, you can connect it and integrate it with Google and Zoom, things like that. And a lot of it with the meetings tends to work off of an individual's calendar. So the reason that it was able to hop into Jeremy and I's meeting in this Microsoft Teams meeting is that it had access to my calendar and the meeting event that was taking place, which is called Integrate This, the Otter.ai. And that's how you see that third person, in our meeting, which is just my AI note taker. So I'm going to just shift over and I'm going to share. So for this part, what I want to do first is just show you what it looks like, and we'll shift from this over to my dashboard. But what you'll see is you can go to otter.ai, and we'll have some things in the show notes for you on this with the links and everything. But to get started, right, you go to the website and click start for free, and then what we're going to be using for our tutorial is just the basic Otter. So there's with a lot of our stuff, there's always like a breakdown of what's included in basic and what's included in their more premium or their business trial. As I mentioned, with all the integrations that they have, like the Teams integration and stuff like that, they're very much already set up for entire, like a whole school or a business to be able to utilize this. So depending on what your goal is, that might differ from person to person. So if it's just you as an individual, as I did with mine, I'm going to use the basic, and I just click get started. And then what you can do is from here, you can create your account with Google or Microsoft credentials. I'm not going to go through this process because I've already got mine, but you'll just set this up through here. And then a lot of what we'll do in the next part here is to show you what it looks like once you're logged in. And so I'm going to shift from this over to that. Okay, so here is the Otter layout, and there's quite a bit going on. So I want to just take it one thing at a time and explain it to you. And what's kind of interesting is that right away, you kind of see these segments. So there's different portions of the screen that you're looking at. Now on the left side, this is our menu, and I'll go over some of these things. But I want to just draw your attention to this part right here, because this is indicating that we actually have a live Otter AI recording going on right now. And that's the join meeting that Jeremy and I are in, the Microsoft Teams meeting that's being recorded, and the Otter AI is actually doing the live transcript script right here, so you can see that.
Okay,
Um,
that's really cool. And
yeah,
it's
and
really,
it's
really accurate. I've been kind of watching it as you were talking about the other parts here, and it's done really, really well. And I even noticed it cut out like the or the ums, that I can't get rid of.
that time
But
it did, but
except for right there, it added mine. But
yeah. So we're gonna look at, so what you're looking at is just kind of like a live snapshot of what's going on, right? So it kind of gives you like a screen. The transcript is live, so that keeps progressing as you talk. You can see the live indicator here. There's some timestamps. So when did the meeting start? How long has the meeting been going? Who's the organizer of the meeting? These type of things, right? And then what I like as well is it will alter what kind of meeting it is based on what platform you're using, right? So right now we're in a Microsoft Teams meeting, so you can see that it may look like a Zoom icon, or it will actually do other platforms as well. I'm just not entirely sure which ones it will accept. I know that with this particular tutorial, like, I talked to Jeremy, and we figured out you couldn't really do, I couldn't put our StreamYard link in there. And that's okay. Like, we can take a break from StreamYard, even though it's great. Um, so so this is the dashboard, right? And this is the live meeting. But then if you scroll down, you'll see ones that were done previously. And these can vary. So sometimes they'll be where it's a meeting between, Jeremy and I, or like I said, the superintendent meeting that we have. There's 60 plus people in usually, and it doesn't really matter. It will still take the notes for whoever has set up Otter AI, and it will deliver it to your personal, um, I don't know if you want to call it portfolio, or just to your account, and the different recordings that take place. And again, it bases it off of your calendar, and you can even choose what you want it to record and what you don't want it to record. And that's in the settings, which I'll go over as well. So you can take some time to uncheck certain meetings if you don't want Otter to collect anything during that meeting, and then some you can, like this one that we have going live, right? And now the other thing is that these ones that I did previously, um, these are actually a couple different things. So the one that you see right here, this is, I uploaded a video, which is utilizing the import button. You can upload audio or video, and it has the same effect. It will kind of organize the information. It will read through the transcript, or the audio file, and the words that were said during that audio, and then it will compile that into a summary, which you see here. I'm going to go into these in a little bit further depth, but for right now, I just want to show kind of the different types that you can do. So we have our live, we have our video upload, and then these ones here that you see are actually just utilizing the record button. So what you can do is you can also just click record, and you can just get right into you're talking through something and you're recording it. So it could be more that maybe it's just something for you. Maybe it's not a meeting between two people like Jeremy and I right now. Maybe it's just that it's you and you're talking through some things, and you're wanting it to collect information so that you have some notes for later. And so that's some things that you can see right away on the dashboard.
so could it
Um,
be like a to-do list kind of thing? Like, hey, when I get to my prep period, make sure that you make these copies, grade these papers, call that parent, so that you can make more efficient use of your time, and it will remember those things for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be a way that you could utilize the record option to organize some thoughts. Like maybe you're brainstorming, or maybe you've got like some notes that you took and you have them on paper. It's actually really nice because then you could hit record and you could just read through some of those notes and it'll organize it for you. So, I think that's very much like, the same thing of using like the audio feature on your phone, or like like a voice memo essentially, but it writes out a transcript and then it will collect that information and it organizes it nicely. And what it'll do is put it into bullet points, or it kind of pieces together what makes sense, and it does a really nice job of that. And you can also edit that too. You're not like, if there's something that's incorrect, you can always modify it. um, on the right hand side, this is actually where you have your calendar. And so for mine, I have my work calendar connected to this. And so, you could go like look at your different days that you have. And what I want to point out is that underneath here, you can't see it too well, so I'm just going to hide the calendar for a moment. This is actually the different events. And so what you'll notice is that in your settings, you can see these, but you can also see them as individual events right here. And this is where you can toggle Otter on for specific meetings. So over here, you can see Autopilot will not join this meeting, right? So if I turn it on, then that's going to actually make it so that when I connect to this meeting, Otter takes notes for me based on what people say within the meeting. And then that gets delivered to me. Now, one thing that's nice is if, let's say that Jeremy doesn't have Otter. After this, since I'm collecting notes with Otter and it's going to deliver them to me later on, once it's complete, once this recording is complete, I can actually share the notes over to him once I have my transcript. And so we'll look at some of that as well once I go into some of the completed ones. I'm going to turn this off for now. But this is kind of where you can see what events are coming up because of that integration with your calendar, and then select what you want recorded versus what you don't. Now, by default right now, it's just not collecting anything, and it's requiring me to go in and select. And I actually did that in my settings where I wanted to manually select. Now you can turn it on and just have it do it for all of them if you want to. But I kind of found that for me, that didn't really make sense. Like I just wanted to have, maybe certain ones that I would do. So let's just so you can go to meeting settings here, and that will bring you over to the settings. But what I want to do real quick is just go over to this side, and this is where a lot of your menu items exist. So right now we're just in the home area, and that's what you see right here in the center. Now you can also do things like chat with Otter AI, which is down here. And I'll tell you what's really interesting about this is, we've done things on like Chat GPT and all of that, and it acts very much in the same way. But I think one of the things that you'll utilize the most is that if you are using Otter pretty consistently, you're going to want to go and look for things in your notes. So let's say you have a meeting and the meeting was an hour long, and a week later you're trying to remember something from that meeting. Okay, so if we want to, what we can do is with the Otter AI chat, we could say something like, on October 22nd, I had a summary of a meeting with our silver sponsor, Bluum. Can you remind me what that was about? And I'll hit enter, and then it will actually sift through the conversations that you have and then kind of go through and remind you of what that was about. And then, so the thing is too, once you have certain things that are listed out by Otter, then what you could do is, like let's take number 5. You discussed the possibility of Bluum participating in a breakout session, which they seemed interested in. Okay, so maybe we say, could you give me some suggestions about what Bluum could present on in the area of educational technology? Okay, so it comes up with some different things that maybe they could do. So this is kind of where it's pairing up both the conversations that you've had and the meetings that have taken place, and taking that information and summarizing it for you, and then adding that element of like a chat GPT or a Gemini, and allowing you to explore and get answers from it in a very similar fashion. So you can kind of pair the two together and utilize them in one space, which is really nice. Not that you can't still go out to those and use them as well, but I just like that Otter is already thinking about being able to do those things in house without having to navigate to another place, and it already has the insights from your conversations that have taken place. So it'll have a lot of the context will already be there for certain things that you're wanting to ask it or get information about, or new ideas, right? So that's the Otter AI chat. And then if you click on My Conversations, this is actually where all of the different things that have taken place will get stored. So you'll see the conversations that have been started here. It looks very similar to the homepage. You can kind of scroll down, or you can search for things too. If like if I type in Bluum, I can get there a little faster. Like once I have a bunch of stuff, and the folders actually come in really handy for that too, to be able to organize things. If you want to look at all the conversations that take place, this would include like your conversations, and then could include shared with you as well, the conversations that are shared. The apps part, this is where you're going to do a lot of your integration. So if you have Slack, you can add that. I haven't done a ton with these. I have used Slack a little bit in the past, but to me, the ones that stand out the most and are probably the most universally used are going to be like your Zoom, right? So Zoom, for those of the many business, like our work, my cooperative uses Zoom. Some people do. You'll have your Google, which you can see mine is already added. And it's just as simple as clicking add, and then you'll just go to your account and sign in, and then it will ask if it can have permission to look at those events, so then it can see them. And that's how you're going to get that calendar view where you have over here, and it's going to be able to read some of those things. So I have both of my Google, which has some different things on it, like our VR stuff on it. And then I have our Microsoft one, which that's going to be more of like our professional meetings, or meetings that we have, or like with Jeremy and I for our channel. That's where that's going to be, and that's where I can access the Teams meetings. And so it's just a matter of syncing them up. You add them in here. I will say one thing that you should keep an eye out for is that with the Microsoft, if you have, and probably Google too, but if you're at a school and you have Microsoft or Google, it's likely that you're going to have an administrator approve the app to be able to access the information. I know with the Microsoft Teams part of it, I had to have an admin approve this so that I could get it to integrate with my calendar. So just something to be aware of as you take a look at that. If you're running into a snag where it says, you need admin permission or whatever, you'll just have to reach out to whoever is in control of your stuff at your business or at your school. In the more section, this is where you can access shared with me. I don't have any shared with me, but like I know Jeremy probably would because I've shared some with him in the past. So this is where they would get stored. You also have a trash area where this is where deleted things go. So like if you have a conversation and you go over here, oh, I'm not going to mess with our live one, but let's say that I go here and I'm going to delete this. And then I can go over to my trash and there now it exists. And so there, if you do something on accident, you can click on it and then you could restore it, or you could go ahead and delete it forever. If you kind of want to keep things organized and just get it out of the way for good, then you can do that too. Then down a little further, you have channels. So you can create channels for others to access, and you can create workspaces for these. And so you can name a channel, and then let's say once you have the channel like this general here, this is like kind of, if you want to think of it as a shared workspace where you can talk about things. So, if Jeremy and I had this general one, maybe what I do is I actually will rename this, integrate this workspace. And this is where Jeremy and I could kind of keep our ideas together. And it looks like we can't have any spaces there. So
Or no exclamation mark, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then the members of this, right? I would maybe have, I'm not going to remove that, but let's say that someone's in there that I don't need in there. I can remove them. I can switch the owner if I want to. But this is going to be like our workspace. You can also, if you click the bulk select, you can choose different things that are in your spaces that you could pull in. So if you have like documents and stuff like that, you can pull them into your workspace. You can import different things. We can start recording together, and then we can also put a meeting URL in here. So a lot of what you can do from the home area of Otter, you could do within this workspace as well. And then you have an area where both Jeremy and I can work together and modify things in here and add things as we want to. So those are channels. You can create a bunch of channels that make sense for you. That, to me, with that little pound sign and stuff, that's very similar to what Slack does with the channels and stuff like that. So if you're used to that and you're looking for integrating Slack with this, if you're already using it, I think it's a great way to do it. And then you can kind of use both of them together there. Direct messages, pretty straightforward. This is just a space where you can create messages to somebody. So if I want to pull Jeremy in, right, maybe I just do this one. There we go. Okay. So now that I got Jeremy in there, we could talk as well. So this would be similar to like your workspace, but maybe this is just something where we're kind of riffing back and forth. And then, the channels, maybe you have more people in there. So it just kind of depends on how you want to use that. And then the folders, this one here, I created and integrate this folder, and you could move stuff into the folder. So if we went to, say, my conversations, and I wanted to put this into my folder, I could do that. And this is where that exists now. So anytime that Jeremy and I have a meeting, if I want to start to, for example, like we have our IT Squared conference that's coming up on Thursday and Friday, but leading up to that, over the course of the whole year, we have a bunch of meetings. And so we could actually have a folder that has the that we call IT Squared, 2024. And then we would be able to, every time we have a meeting, we would be able to just funnel that into our folder and just keep everything nice and organized there. And so anything that we have from documents, the video recordings, the transcripts, all that stuff could fall within this area right here. So, so pretty nice. And it's a very organized program. I've enjoyed spending some time with it. I will say that it's pretty intuitive. It's not real confusing, I don't think. I do want to show a couple of the different types of things that you could do before I wrap up. One of them, so what I found too with Jeremy and I, one thing I found was that I at first was not getting my meeting to show up here within my calendar. So one alternative that you could do if you have some issues with that is you could actually grab the link for the meeting, so the Zoom URL or the Teams URL, and what you would do is just paste it right in here. So this is actually our meeting link, and you could paste this in here. Super long. You could paste this in here, and then it recognizes it, and then it's able to start recording it. So it's pretty nice in that regard. We already kind of covered the record part, but the other thing I want to show is if you do choose the import option, this is where you can browse for those video files or audio files. And this is actually what I did to try to pull in the Bluum one. I don't know if I have any on this computer here. Could maybe check. Let's see. I might have one in here maybe. Yeah, so this would be an example. You could choose a video here, and then what it's going to do is it's going to transcribe it. So think of it as it's like watching the video and listening to the audio, and then it's transcribing it for you, and then you can look at it afterwards. I'm going to stop this, and then I'm just going to go over to the one that I had already done, and this is the Bluum one that I did. This was a video recording, and what I did was once it was done, I actually went in and I added some things. So I didn't do any of this. So all this that you see was done by Otter. So first you have, a little bit of the transcript, this is the summary of what we talked about. So the transcript here on this tab is actually the word for word conversation that happened between Zach and I from Bluum, our Bluum rep. And so it's got, speaker 1, that's me. Speaker 2 is Zach. And then we just kind of go through, and talk about what we're doing for the conference. Now, a couple of things that you can do within the transcript itself, some tools that are available to you. Like here you see, okay, you can listen back to it, but you can also highlight things. Like this one, I would unhighlight. So maybe what I would do is if I just say, if I look at, let's unhighlight this, and then we'll go ahead and highlight that again. Make sure I get the right thing here. Sometimes my Microsoft stuff gets in the way. See if that'll go away real quick. Okay, I can highlight it, and then that's highlighted. So if there's key points and things, you can go in and you can select stuff. You don't have to just be satisfied with what you've got. You can add comments, emojis, you can like it, you can add images, copy it, share it. So there's a lot of things you can do there with that menu. Like this one was an example of, I just clicked this space, and then this is where I added that image of myself just to go along with that speaker one part. And then if, let's say you have a longer meeting and you want to look at the key points that you highlighted as you went through the transcript, what you can do is just click show only highlights, and that will kind of break it down for you and remove things that maybe are not so important, right? So gives you some options there. You can export those if you want into a text doc. Some of the things that are taken away, like you won't have Microsoft Docs or PDF if you aren't paying for it, but you can still get the text version of it. And then just going back to the summary, this is where we have what Otter came up with after listening to the video. And this is the breakdown. So a little summary there. It created some action items, which I can create my own if I want, but it created some based on the conversation. And then you'll have an outline of the entire thing. So Bluum's excitement for IT Squared 2024, campus-wide communication systems, latest classroom interactivity technologies, and invitation to attend IT Squared 2024. So really cool. I mean, I didn't do any of that work. That was all done by Otter. But the last thing I want to show is if you have an action item, and this is something that, Jeremy and I are working on together, let's say, I can go over here and I could actually assign this to him as an action item, and he'll get a notification saying that that's something that he should address. And then that's where the whole thing comes into play with, like the workspace and assigning things to people and then having conversations within the workspace about what we're working on, right? I think that's pretty much all I have on this. The only other thing to be aware of is right here. So I'm on basic. I have 300 monthly minutes, and my minutes don't reset until 30 days from now. It started at 32. So again, if you're going to use it pretty frequently, you probably want to take a look at the pricing at the very least. We're not advocating either way, but it's just a matter of like, if you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it and it's very useful to you and you're going to be potentially using it for multiple users or an entire staff, I think it's worth it. Or you can always just purchase it individually too. They give you a discount if you do yearly versus monthly, so something to be aware of. And yeah, and that's what I've got for Otter AI. So Jeremy, I don't know if you have any thoughts, but that's
the first time that I saw, the first time that I saw Otter AI was because of a meeting that I couldn't attend. And it was I still wanted to get all of the information from the meeting. So I had asked someone before the meeting who I knew was going to be a part of it, hey, can you take some notes for me and share me some of the things that they talked about? And I literally thought I would just get an email from this person saying, yeah, here are the things that we talked about and the plan for the next meeting and that sort of thing. Nope, I got the link to Otter AI. And just like you were showing there with the summary, it gave me a summary of the meeting, the action items, and what they were planning to tackle for the next particular meeting. So I think it's great even for people that can't attend the meeting to be able to find out what did they miss and is there anything that they need to be responsible for that came out of that meeting, which I thought was a really neat feature of it too. And you did kind of touch on that, but I just kind of wanted to highlight that part as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this too, I was just kind of scrolling through, and what I do like about it does notice when you're sharing something and takes screenshots of what's going on and correlates it to the conversation that's happening. So pretty cool stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and
we're using up all of your minutes here now, like
correct. Yeah. That's all right then. It's good. So let's see. It does still show live, but I believe it stopped the recording now. So okay, now it updated. So it stopped the meeting, and And this is our, our summary then. So the transcript is here, right? Again, so this is an area where you can edit things like I did with the Bluum one. But then in the summary, this is all done by Otter, where it summarizes everything, adds in the screenshots, and does a great job of it, in my opinion. So, all right. So that's what we got for Otter AI, and hopefully everybody is able to, you know, take something from that and at least give it a try and see if it's something that would benefit you.
Yeah, I could see lots of uses for that. And yeah, really neat. And I'm glad that you picked that one. Thanks for sharing what you had about that. Yeah, so thanks for joining us here for this episode of Integrate This. And we'll be excited to come back at you again here in our next episode, which is going to be one I'll take more of the lead on. And it is about a new research assistant tool, but it does a lot more than that, let me tell you. That's available from Google, and it's called Notebook LM. So come back next week and let's take a deep dive into that together. Until then, we'll see you later.